now for the next generation. Do your work now for the next generation. When you work for your people, it is not what you receive, it's what you give. And the best thing about working for the people is that what you really give for the people, sometimes nobody else knows except you. This is real struggle for the people. This is real struggle for the people. Thus, we must wipe out from our minds that the struggle in which we're involved in is going to give us any victories. The struggle in which we're involved in is an eternal struggle. We are not working for ourselves. We are working for generations to come. Therefore, what I've done, you ain't even begin to see. Generations later will come to thank us for the work we've done now.
I am so sorry for the delay. My computer crashed and I was up at our tech bar, so I'm sorry to keep you waiting.
Oh, no problem at all, man. I really do appreciate you calling today, taking your time out of your day. So no problem at all. I know how that goes, you know. Those VoIP systems, they tend to they get a little testy sometimes.
They sure do, and certainly at the worst points in time to crash too. So I appreciate your understanding, and so happy that we could connect. Does now still work for you?
Absolutely. Okay.
Perfect. Well, looking forward to using our time together here, Derek, to first off learn more about you and your background, what you're interested in, as well as share some more insights into SPS Commerce and the specifics of the Associate Technical Support Engineer. Does that sound like an okay agenda for you?
It sounds great.
All right, perfect. Well, I have your resume pulled up here, Derek, but I'd love it if you could walk me through your background and bring me up to speed on where you're at today.
Absolutely. I primarily come from a desktop support background. I spent much of my time working on a lot of the Windows 7 migrations here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and also St. Paul as well. I pretty much worked at pretty much any insurance company that was doing the Windows 7 migrations earlier on in my career, starting off in March 2012. The first contract that I worked was for a manufacturing site that builds a lot of the sensors that you see actually on space stations and things of that nature, Minco products. I also worked at Travelers Insurance, Blue Cross Blue Shield, the Department of Urban Development. I have worked at AIG. That was my last standing contract until my career started to turn into a shift. I became an end user support. They don't typically use that term anymore, but EUC analyst at TCS. If you're ever familiar with TCS, if you're in India and you buy a burger or you drive a car, they have something to do with it. So that was one of the larger managed service companies in the world that provide support for an implementation for a lot of the Fortune 500 companies. And that's when my career started to change. I did like a 1-year contract with them. So, you know, from March 2012 to July 2016, that's when I was doing a lot of my desktop support and end user support. And then I shifted into becoming a Citrix administrator for a managed service company in Minneapolis called Syntax. So I stayed there a few years. And during that time, I became a technical trainer, rolling out the Microsoft Imagine Academy. I was doing community work. After work, I would get off and I would go to the park board, and on Saturdays, I would go speak to children about the Microsoft Imagine Academy and IT in general on Saturdays. And during the week, what I would do is I would teach a Microsoft certification class. So I did that for 7 years. And I pretty much did that the entire time that I was working. And you know, my work kind of got around the city, and Hiawatha Academy is a charter school. That was my first time kind of touching SALESFORCE. They heard about my community work, so I went over there for about 1.5 years until they laid off half the staff. I was working on, you know, creating dashboards, testing some of the third-party applications that fed into SALESFORCE. I was kind of a liaison in between the business, so to say, that would be teachers and, you know, principals and the network support team and the IT team. And because I had that system administration and that infrastructure experience, what I was able to do is I was able to resolve about 50% of the issues they had, even though I didn't have any admin rights. After that layoff, I went over for a 1-year contract for a medical imaging software as a service company called Flywheel, basically, if you ever had the unfortunate experience to have an MRI, that company pretty much does software as a service for those that are, trying to save lives. So if you get an X-ray, they could throw your X-ray in a piece of software, and it could run artificial intelligence on it and provide you with more data than you already had. That's when I started dealing with containerization technologies such as Docker and Kubernetes. And the last couple years, I've been more into like the data support, dealing with API support. So, for example, like dealing with Splunk and Postman and Jira. I've been kind of dealing with more from a data standpoint, kind of going back into when I was working at Hiawatha Academies. That was a data-driven project. And so I worked at Wells Fargo for the better part of the late 2021 all the way to April 2023, and then I started a contract at Optum doing pretty much the same thing but leading a team of 5. So that's been pretty much my experience. I hold 2 Microsoft certifications. Like I say, I got 7 years in those Microsoft certifications, training other people. I got about 2 years or so of Splunk, and also dealing with ServiceNow as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for that explanation too, Derek. That's really helpful for me to, paint a picture of you and your background. And so you had mentioned you're at Optum now, is that correct?
That contract was supposed to go on actually until now, but due to global consolidation is what they told us. It had ended in January. So I did a little bit of help desk consulting. It's not on a resume. It wouldn't have been anything really applicable, but just some, basic, level 1, level 2 help desk consulting that I did since then.
Absolutely. And I'd love to hear a little bit more too about your most recent role before Optum with Wells Fargo, the business systems analyst. What was like a typical day in the life like in that role?
Well, we work with software developers. That was 90% of our customer base. Wells Fargo has a product called a gateway. So if you buy a house or if you're able to close in on commercial property, we work with the Treasury Department, implementation, onboarding, making sure that people are able to integrate to the gateway, Wells Fargo gateway product. And so what we would do is we would get tickets, create a Jira, we would analyze the logs in Splunk, and then work with all the responding teams. It was a very matrixed environment.
Yeah, awesome. That's fantastic. And what were the main platforms there too? Did you leverage Salesforce in that role as well, or what other?
They didn't really have Salesforce over there. They had Jira, they had ServiceNow, they had Postman, Apigee, Splunk, different API tools. With Optum, I was dealing with medical records for the most part. That was standing up. Yeah. If you have my chart, pretty much I was helped standing up their my chart.
Kind of the EHR, electronic health record side of things, then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, it sounds like you've gotten exposure to a lot of different industries too, which is amazing to have that exposure, and expanding on your experience so far, Derek, too, as you're looking to that next opportunity. What are you looking for in a position? What's on your list of criteria?
Well, I would like to be in kind of an ego-free environment in which we could foster, change and growth, a forward-thinking, environment that kind of, looks at things from the state-of-the-art perspective. I'm kind of foreseeing my future going into like product management, product ownership, or, I guess that's a distinction, one other difference, but, product owner, product management, doing more integration and things of that nature. I kind of enjoyed my role at Hiawatha Academies with Salesforce. I didn't have any Salesforce experience whatsoever before I went into that position, but I started to, I pretty much found out like the first couple weeks that I was working there that my manager was going to leave, so I had Trailhead, and that was very helpful in being able to, administer a lot of the systems that they had there.
Absolutely. Oh, well, I can imagine that would be kind of challenging to hear that your manager is leaving.
Yeah, and, it's crazy because, and I said, well, hey, did you guys know about this beforehand? And so when they see my resume, from what I was told, they seen my resume and seen my work, and they didn't want to tell me until I got on board because they thought it would scare me away.
Got it. Yep.
Yeah.
Kind of one of those learning experiences. So I'm sure it was challenging, but you got
it was a great learning experience. It was an absolute great learning experience. And then what was even a greater learning experience is they were supposed to have somebody that replaces my manager. He came on maybe 3 to 4 months later, maybe. So I got a chance to interview my manager.
Oh wow!
Yeah, they have at Hiawatha they have a very interesting thing where they try to make things equitable. So they have a lot of the employees and the people you're working with, and it was really more of a conversation. Nobody's really grilling you. It was a panel, but it was more of a conversation. It wasn't like it wasn't like your typical interview where you got some people and they're just asking you crazy questions and whatnot. It was, everybody for the most part came from a nonprofit, so they didn't really have to re-explain what their position was. And the manager that I interviewed, he ended up being my manager. I ended up having to train him in. I had to train him in all the systems. So we had a very, very equitable relationship. I really miss it because, I've never had a situation like that before where, it was such an open ears, and I like to bring ideas. I like to bring ideas to the table. So, that was good.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh, that's great. Well, lots of new experiences too for you, and it's always nice to add those to your toolkit, as I say. So, and kind of expanding on, what you're looking for in that next role too. I'd love to talk through compensation with you. Is there a number or range that you're targeting for that next opportunity?
Yeah, for my range, I'd probably be targeting, I'd say 74,000 to 86,000 within that range. 74 to 86.
And so with this position, it is at the associate level. So all of our associate level positions across the company are at that non-exempt or hourly basis.
Okay.
This will be at $24.09 an hour, which is annualized at around that $50,000, which I know is a big difference in the range that you had mentioned. And so wanted to get your thoughts. And of course, we want it to be a right match on your end as well.
You said it would be $24 an hour, you said?
Yes, $24.09 to be exact.
And what does that break down to?
That's annualized at $50,100 annually, and then we also do include a full benefits package. So it is a full-time role, and then you're eligible for, we use United Healthcare, UHC, for our medical and vision plans, and then we offer dental, 401k matching, a free gym membership on our ground floor of SPS Tower, and then of course PTO and kind of those standard benefits. But given, you're targeting higher at that 74,000, it sounds like maybe it wouldn't quite be a rate match here, but wanted to double check.
If you guys were, if I probably was able to get, maybe 63 or something like that, because it's, 50, and this is you said this is an entry level position?
It is, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if I'd probably be able to budge with like 60 something, the thing is like, 50,000 with a family of 4, that I'd probably be underwater. But it now, if you guys had other encompassing positions that were similar, I'd be open to discuss. I'm not exactly. I took a look around at your website. I didn't really. I wasn't sure what other positions you had that were kind of similar to this, but if you had other positions that were similar that that were maybe a higher rate, I definitely could consider.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for your transparency too, because the time is to make sure it's a match on your end too. So it sounds like this role we would rule out. I focus more on our entry level positions or really clear roles. So as a follow-up after our call, I'd be happy to share out to my team. I work with a team of 14 other recruiters. So I'd be happy to share your resume out and kind of a recap of our conversation and what you're looking for, so that they can check and see what roles they have open, and if there is something that would be a match, certainly we could reach back out. Otherwise, I can also send you an email with a job alert instruction setup, so you can activate. You can set up certain areas on our career site that are of interest and tag them, and then as soon as those come available, you're among the first to be notified. So I can send that to you as well for a follow-up, if that sounds okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Perfect. Wonderful. Well, I'm sorry that this position wasn't a right match, but still worth the conversation. It's always fun to get to know the person behind the resume, and you never know where it might lead you.
Yes, absolutely. You know, I really do appreciate your time. And I would be more than willing to, continue the discussion, if possible. And we might be able to find a fit.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I will, as promised, I will share out your resume to the team, and then if there is a role that's a match, they'll reach out to you directly. But I'll also send you an email with that instructions to set up job alerts on our career site too. And then if you do have questions in the future, you see another position posted that you think maybe would be a right fit, you can always see me or send me an email, whichever works best, and we can kind of engage from there.
Absolutely. That'll work.
Good. Well, any other questions for me in the meantime, Derek?
No, not that I could think of. Not that I could think of right now. I guess, well, can you kind of, one other question I may have is if you could speak to the company culture and, if you guys have is it a hybrid environment?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to chat more about that. So we are hybrid. We're based downtown Minneapolis, just on the corner of 3rd and 7th Street. Typically, teams are in about 2 to 3 days a week. There may be other things that pop up, like our quarterly meetings. We usually rent out Orchestra Hall downtown, and everybody comes in and attends those as a group. So those may they coming in more frequent a week here and then, but nothing kind of outside of the norm of those 2 to 3 days. And then our company culture. I always say I could talk people's ear off about the culture. It's by far my favorite thing about working at SPS Commerce. We have, as a company, we have 12 core values. I won't go through the whole list, but just a couple to highlight. One is employees come first. We see that firsthand through our embrace of that hybrid work environment. Our employees, we do a yearly survey, and they express that they enjoy having that flexibility. And so leadership instituted the hybrid model company-wide, and that's been amazing and a great balance to have. Another big one is thirst for growth. So we are constantly growing. We just hit our 94th consecutive quarter of growth. So I believe that's 23 and a half years now. So it's definitely that growth on the business scale, but then also on the employee level. We offer opportunities for career advancement or career development. We offer tuition reimbursement up to $5,000 per year. So if there's certifications or courses that you're interested in taking, certainly that's a benefit that we encourage. But then we also offer courses internally. We do something called Accelerate Me in partnership with LinkedIn. So it's really mapping out your goals and where you want to take your career, and then figuring out how you can get there and what those steps are along the way. But then we also have a lot of fun. We've got employee resource groups that you can opt into. We have women in technology, LGBTQ plus and allyship, ways to kind of engage socially and have fun at the office. They do different events and happy hours. They bring food trucks in and the yard games in the summer. So a really, really great culture and a fun place to work overall.
Okay. Well, one other question I have is, because I was a technical instructor for some time, and I still have contact with people that are looking for work. Do you have a referral system where I could send over a resume directly to you?
Yeah, so typically the best plan of action, if you do have somebody in your network that would be interested in SPS or a position with us, you could certainly send them my way, or share the company website with them and have them directly apply to a role and then send me a message that they've applied. That's kind of the best way around it. We do offer a referral bonus system, but that's only for internal employees that refer somebody in and then they are hired.
Okay, so you said I could send the resume to you, and then.
Yeah, so there's kind of two ways you could do it. You could email me directly and share their resume, or you could encourage them to apply on our company website if there's a job that they see posted, and then just let me know that they had applied. You could provide their first and last name, so then I could check out their application.
Okay. All right. Well, now you said it's entry level, about 50,000. I have some people that is possibly in mind. What is the make or break that you're really looking for this position, for somebody coming in at that rate, entry level? What do they really need to know?
Yeah, great question. So it is an entry level position. So we totally recognize that it is going to be geared most often towards somebody that is earlier on in their career. So not necessarily any super strict requirements. We'd love to see somebody that does have a technical background. So if they've got an associate's degree, bachelor's, or even just work history in that tech space, the team loves to see somebody that has prior experience within technical support. It could even be at their school working at that tech help desk. That's another great way of kind of demonstrating those skills. Certainly somebody that is a strong communicator. In this role, they are working directly with customers. So being able to provide that positive experience for the customer is really crucial. A couple preferred things that they'd love to see: somebody that does have an understanding of supply chain, even if you've worked in retail before, so you have an understanding of kind of that order process side of things. If you've had experience with software as a service, tools such as Microsoft Office, SALESFORCE, Atlassian, those are just a couple that would be nice to have. But overall, that's kind of what they're targeting for a candidate in this role.
Okay. Well, I'll pass it around. I'll pass this information around because we might have somebody that might be a good fit for you. So I'll send the resume over as soon as I get it.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. I love when we can network around and find somebody, that way too. So thank you for thinking of that.
Oh, no problem at all. No problem whatsoever.
Oh, any other questions for me too, Derek? My time is completely yours.
I can't really think of too much that I could think of. I can't really think of I don't know. I think that pretty much clears it up for me.
Well, certainly if you have other questions too that pop up, you've got my contact information too. So don't hesitate to reach out. And then I will be sending out your resume to my team too, just to put some feelers out there. And then I'll be sending you a follow-up email to set up the job alerts too, if that would be of interest to you.
Absolutely. That'd be perfect. Most obliged.
Wonderful. Well, can't thank you enough, Derek, for being patient while I worked through my tech issues. I really appreciate it. And it's been a pleasure chatting with you today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, you enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Oh, man. Shout out for them. Shout out for SBS Commerce for being cheap as hell. When I went on when I went on the website, man, I do my due diligence. I do my Dolby Digital due diligence, and sure enough, when I went on the interview or on Indeed, did my Sherlock Holmes, they said that the pay was cheap as hell. They said that the pay was super, super cheap, and they having you up there with Salesforce, and it's a $400 million company, man. They could have some of these young people come in a little more than 50. If they would have said 63, I might have kind of talked to them a little bit. Then I said, all the way out there in downtown Minneapolis on hybrid, and they keep trying to push this in-office thing. You know, I'm like, you know me, I'm trying to negotiate a little bit. You know, I'm trying to lock down 100K. That's what I'm trying to lock down. I want 100. Because if I'm able to knock down damn near 150 1 year, I'm trying to knock down 100. You know, but yeah, their revenue, 1,300 employees, $450 million a year. They got all these acquisitions and stuff. Their whole point is to try to stay real cheap. But you see what I did. Let's see, my wife's texting me. I'm gonna load this up for y'all real fast. What is that email? An interview tomorrow. So I wonder if I should just rock it out real quick, but I don't know. Okay, so this company, it was founded in '87. They sold their business to the Netherlands. After the sale, the company primarily offered business-to-business exchanges for retailers and manufacturers. You're dealing directly with the customer. I thought it was internal. So you're dealing directly with the customer. And they said something about Salesforce. So I thought it was more of a Salesforce position. That's what I was kind of, I thought it was more of a Salesforce-y kind of position where you're just going to be managing that. And, okay, so she hit me with the Associate Technical Support Engineer. She said this wasn't a max now. I would love to stay in touch with future opportunities. Sign up for job alerts here. I don't know if I want the alerts or not. I mean, maybe. Yeah, see, this will be a good remote position, especially if somebody wants to double up. But they want hybrid. They want to see your face for $50,000, man. I mean, what the hell are you gonna do with $50,000 and you're a young cat? I guess if you stay with your parents, you're cool, but I'm gonna see Salesforce administrator. This one's 80 to 93,000. So we take a look at this position. System test engineer, laser processing. What the hell? All right, let me see what they talking about. AutoCAD. No, I'm good on that. Let me see what this one talking about. 80 to 93,000 a year. What do they want? 50 mobile administration. 4 years. Okay. Well, I don't have 4 years of Salesforce. At least 3 years with system admin privileges. Okay. 3 years with a nonprofit. Okay, so that's probably a nonprofit position. Yeah, that's a nonprofit, and they pay pretty damn good. Trailhead at Ranger level. Okay. See, I did Trailhead at Adventure level. So Trailhead, I always told y'all about Trailhead. Trailhead's free. Just go ahead and check out Trailhead. I'm trying to go towards the the business system analyst route. I want to go towards that same API support kind of route or whatever. You're not stuck with a million calls and all this crap and everything. So no, but yeah, y'all email me if you're interested. If you're in Minnesota, man, you interested. Like I say, you heard what I said. This is an entry-level position. What are you expecting for an entry-level position? What are you really trying to obtain here? Because you're only paying $50,000. So, I had a suspicion. I thought they would at least be like, okay, you heard what I said. I said 74 to 86. I thought it might have been around the upper 60s or something like that. But then when they said, oh, it's associate, it's entry level. I thought they'd at least get somebody through at 55. And they could pay 55, man. They just trying to squeeze these young folks out. So, if you got a college degree, I'm probably going to reach out to some of my people. I might have somebody in mind and they might be able to go ahead and lock it down. I actually got somebody in mind that might be able to do that. So we'll see. We'll see. Well, since we're on here, you guys, I want to do a quick little review. Since we're on here, let's do a real quick review. Let's do a real quick review. Now, if you guys have not heard my not in my description, that position, that IoT tech position that I had interviewed for, they sent an offer. It ain't really nothing, you know. That company was a smaller company, and I titled the description "Not in my job description." I think y'all gonna start liking that. I'm about to start getting my little David Banner on in a minute. I'm gonna start taking little bits and pieces, you know, of audio of someone talking, and I'm gonna start throwing that around somewhere. So it's gonna make the videos a little more dynamic. Now, that position, you're not really gonna learn anything. You're just gonna go and install things for, you know, a little bit. But if you're fresh out the game, I'll say this: they didn't really want to, when they sent the offer, they didn't really want to say what the rate was. The reason why they didn't want to do that is because they knew it was going to scare folks away. Let me go check back up in my, I'm a little curious. Let me see. Okay, that was, yeah, is this new? You applied on August 1st. Oh, I didn't even see that. Let me look at this job description. Production data coordinator. It's expired. Oh, damn. I didn't even see that. Hold on. Let me respond to this lady real quick. I did not see that, man. My apologies. This message did not show up in my email account. I just happened to see it. So what I'm gonna tell her is, from 9 to 11. You free 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Friday. And after, what time do I get home? 2 to 5 p.m. Friday. Let's see what she says. All right. Yeah, so I applied for this position August 1st. It's like a data coordinator. It looks like it's way out in Bloomington, though, man. Full-time in person. Okay, well, I need a couple bucks to get out there, you know. So yeah, I mean, you know, you field these calls. Nowadays, what y'all got to do, listen, what y'all have to do, I'll go back to that other conversation in a minute, but this is what y'all got to do, man. Y'all got to not necessarily flood, but you got to pick all of the positions that you think that you're qualified for, and even a few that you're not. And you might have to switch up some of your resumes. Like I have a resume that's more infrastructure, and then I have a resume that's more API kind of data driven. And then when you're in these interviews, you want to make your career sound progressive. You want to say, well, this is what I was doing back then. I started off doing this, and then I shifted and went into that. So if you did have some changes where you were working at different companies and stuff, this whole job jumper thing, this whole well, people are job jumping and this, that, and the third, a lot of that is kind of cap, because a lot of folks be doing that And I was just looking at this article the other day. We'll have to come back to this. We'll talk about that the next thing where I do an official podcast. This was more of that little interview that I had. But man, they had these folks on there that were in IT and in these different positions, and they were talking about how like the job jumping was. You know, how companies were talking about how well, is this person jumping or whatever the case may be. And this is on Reddit. Let's just go into it real quick. I just want to talk about what some of the people are saying. So one person said, I got called a job jumper today when I've been at my current job for 3 years. And then this person says, I agree, though I am not a job jumper. Before this job, I moved about once a year. I've resigned twice at this job and took the counter offer both times. So I would have looked even worse on paper if they had known that. One of the panel members even asked me, what was I interested in besides a paycheck? And so he said, I only work for the paycheck, not out of love for work. I guess I'm staying where I am at, no big deal. And this is some other things that people were saying on here. Another person said, I'm here to pay my bills. I provide labor. You provide money. This is the transaction. And we have a good time on top of that bonus. See, this whole job jump cap, you got folks in here and they're telling the truth. And I'm going to read this the next podcast we do. But man, most of these folks, especially folks in the dominant society, that's their attitude towards it. They're like, man, the hell with it. I'm here to make a bag. You know, they'll a lot of times you go in these interviews and they tell black folks, well, you know, we want you to die on the cross and be crucified over this position or whatever. And most everybody else is kind of like, as soon as I get a better bag, I'm out. They're gonna go for the bag. I remember I was talking to an Indian guy, and I told y'all this before, I believe. There was a guy from India. The way it works in India, he told me, is you work maybe somewhere about a year. You might be a Citrix administrator. Another position comes up, gone. Another position comes up for a few more grand, gone. And they do the same thing. Ain't nobody sticking around. If they get a better deal. Just like a lot of job companies. If they could find a cheaper deal, they gonna get rid of you. But they tell us, oh, you have to die on the cross and be crucified. And it's like, no. You know, so, you know, back to that other position I was talking about, that IoT, that tech position, they're using a new term now called modernization. I'm like, okay, what happened to Internet of Things? And so now the new term is modernization. It's the same thing, IoT. But ultimately, they didn't. Going back to this, I got off course. I was looking in my Indeed messages. That's how I found out about that position I didn't respond to. But I'm trying to find where they were. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't think they put the pay rate. I don't think they put the pay rate. I do not think they put the pay rate, man. I don't believe that. I don't think they put the pay rate. And the reason why they didn't do that is because they knew that once people seen the pay rate, that, so I went through all of this. They had a phone conversation. Then you go on site and you talk. I didn't think they was going to get an offer because I was kind of lackluster when they asked about the company. Like, hey, why did you apply here and this, that, and the third? There wasn't much on the website. I was kind of like lightweight, not interested. And so, you know, I didn't think they was going to get an offer, but I didn't give a bad offer. I didn't give a bad interview. It's just that I was kind of lackluster. So that last podcast, that interview that I just posted 14 hours ago, it's called Not in My Job Description, the IoT tech interview. It was decent, but you know, I don't think I really gave my all. But I tried to trim down, just talk a little less. The last ones, I was just talking way too damn much. Way too much. The project coordinator interview, that went pretty good. I posted that for you guys. So trim down your interviews, less is more, get to the point, let them ask all the questions. And then at the end, you start asking all the good questions. Make it sound interesting. So, but no, they $23 an hour, man. That ain't nothing you stay with, man. You just do that, and then you just find something until you can get 35, 40 an hour. So you get back into your 75 to 110 range. That's what you want to do. So if you run into a rut and you just got to take a little BS position, you just go ahead and take that, man. Take that hit, and then get yourself back where you need to be. You know, unless you papered up and you straight. Most people in America ain't, but yeah, we'll see about that. I got another one. I got to go out here to Bloomington. I need to talk to this managed service company. Let's see what they talking about. That's going to be the next project coordinator interview. So I'll break that down. I'm going to try to not move the phone around. I'll cut out any of the audio. I hope you guys are really enjoying this. If you are, like, share, and subscribe. If you are, like, share, and subscribe, and spread the word. I'll talk to y'all later.